Susan Rice, ex-national security advisor, now in spotlight in surveillance debate. Susan E. Rice, President Barack Obama's national security advisor, denied any wrongdoing on Tuesday after reports that she sought during last year's campaign to learn the identities of associates of President Trump caught up in electronic surveillance of foreigners. Ms. Rice said that she sometimes asked for the names of Americans whose identities were redacted in intelligence reports given to her in order to understand the context of what was going on. "The purpose," she said, "was to do our jobs, but absolutely not for any political purpose, to spy, expose, anything." She added that she never made public the identities of any associates of Mr. Trump mentioned in intelligence surveillance. "I leaked nothing to nobody and never have and never would," Ms. Rice told the journalist Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC. The comments were Ms. Rice's first public response to Republicans who have argued that the real story, as President Trump put it, is not the FBI investigation into contacts between his associates and Russia but the conduct of the Obama administration. Mr. Trump said on Monday that he was the target of a crooked scheme by Mr. Obama's team, and he followed up on Tuesday by retweeting a link from the Drudge Report. Rice ordered spy docs on Trump. The president's allies have seized on reports by conservative media representatives to focus attention on Ms. Rice. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky called such reports a smoking gun and said she should be subpoenaed to testify. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina said Congress should look into the reports. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas pointed to the dispute over Ms. Rice's role in characterizing the attack on the diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya, that killed the American ambassador and 3 other American officials in 2012. Susan Rice is the typhoid Mary of the Obama administration foreign policy, Mr. Cotton said on the Hugh Hewitt radio show. Every time something went wrong, she seemed to turn up in the middle of it. Asked about that comment by Ms. Mitchell, Ms. Rice dismissed it as partisan politics. "I've been called a lot of things by folks on the right that are unfair and disingenuous," she said. "This is not the first. Where Republicans detect scandal, Democrats see a smokescreen. Mr. Trump and his allies have been looking for indications of wrongdoing by Mr. Obama's team for a month since the president accused his predecessor of tapping telephones at Trump Tower during last year's campaign. No evidence has publicly surfaced to substantiate that claim, and it has been widely denied by Mr. Obama, the FBI director, the former director of national intelligence and congressional leaders of both parties. Attention turned this week to Ms. Rice. As the national security advisor, she received intelligence briefings 6 days a week. Last year, during the campaign, some of Mr. Trump's associates were caught up in eavesdropping of foreign officials. When Americans who are not the target of a warrant are mentioned in reports about such surveillance, their identities are obscured, and they are typically referred to as U.S. Person 1 or U.S. Person 2. But officials, like the National Security Advisor, can request that the intelligence agencies provide the names, a process called unmasking. Former national security officials have said that Ms. Rice was justified in asking for names of Trump associates referred to in the reports that intelligence agencies sent to her last year. The White House was concerned about attempts by the Russian government to interfere in the election, and she had an obvious need to be fully informed as the official who coordinated American relations with Russia, they said. While not commenting specifically on anyone she might have asked to be unmasked, Ms. Rice said in her interview on Tuesday that the Russian meddling was a serious issue. "It was a grave concern to all of us in the national security team of the president and to the president himself," she said. "We took this issue very seriously. We thought it was crucial to defend the integrity of our election process." She added, "For us not to try to understand it would be a dereliction of duty." White House aides dismissed Ms. Rice's comments on Tuesday. Lion, leak and Susan Rice stammered through her softball interview with NPR person Andrea Mitchell. Dan Scavino Jr., the White House social media director, wrote on Twitter. Sean Spicer, The White House press secretary said at his daily briefing that revelations about Ms. Rice's actions seem to contradict her previous public comments. After Representative Devin Nunes, the Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, announced last month that he had seen reports indicating that Mr. Trump or his associates may have been incidentally swept up in the monitoring of foreigners, Ms. Rice told PBS, "I know nothing about this. I was surprised to see reports from Chairman Nunes on that count today." Mr. Spicer suggested that Ms. Rice was not forthcoming. She was the one who went out and said, quote, that she had nothing to do with this on a program a few weeks ago, and now you see more and more reports, he told reporters. "It's not for me to decide who should testify or how they should do it," Mr. Spicer added. "But I do think that there is a sharp contrast between a few weeks ago when she was very public in saying she, quote, didn't have any clue what Chairman Nunes was talking about. And yet now, we're finding out that she's trying to figure out some kind of friendly way of discussing this." The link that Mr. Trump retweeted on Tuesday referred to a report in the Daily Caller, a conservative website, that quoted Josephine DeGenova, a former United States attorney, saying that Ms. Rice ordered detailed spreadsheets of legal telephone calls involving Mr. Trump and his aides during the campaign. Mr. DeGenova was quoted saying that the overheard conversations involved no illegal activity. In short, the only apparent illegal activity was the unmasking of the people in the calls, he said. The article did not say how Mr. DeGenova, a Republican appointee who left his position as a prosecutor in 1988, knew this. But in her interview, Ms. Rice said it was not true. "Absolutely not," she said. "No spreadsheet, nothing of the sort.